10 years ago, the male protagonist's master was humiliated, her clothes torn off by humans during a refining process. After the master, a witch, fled. Humans shot her dead. But even that wasn't enough. They only stopped after beheading and dismembering the witch's body. The male protagonist, as the witch's apprentice, was permanently imprisoned for 10 years. After an unexpected event, the male protagonist regained his freedom. The first thing he wanted to do was get close to humans. In ancient times, the relationship between humans and witches was regretful. After God created humans, he gave his power to witches, allowing them to lead humanity. However, as human technology developed, they created weapons against witches, planning to massacre them. Humans were reorganized, no longer wanting the witch's help. Most importantly, humans no longer held witches in awe. In this massacre, the male protagonist's master was the last surviving witch. To survive, they had to cross the desert and flee to other countries. Along the way, the male protagonist couldn't help but feel violent. He thought it would be better to use magic to bring chaos to the countries pursuing them than to live a life of escape. But the master always insisted on restraint. She didn't want to actively slaughter humans and only hoped to find a country that would accept witches. However, while they were still looking at a map in the desert, the army pursuing the witches found them. But the master was a witch who could manipulate combat magic, and these pursuers were no match for her. She casually cast a spell and eliminated all of them. But what the male protagonist and his master didn't notice was that the pursuers carried trackers. In the next second, they were instantly airborne. It was then that the witch realized that humans had completed long-distance teleportation. They were sending targets to designated locations via satellite. This was a power that even their witch clan could not fully achieve. Soon, the male protagonist and his master were teleported to the central square of the empire. Seeing the king on the stage, the male protagonist, without thinking, rushed forward to gain time for his master. But he was too naive. He was detained by guards after only a few steps. However, it was this very action that caused his master to intervene. She told the king to release the male protagonist, or she would use absolute spiritual magic to kill everyone in this country. But the master didn't realize that her magic suddenly disappeared halfway through its release. The king on the stage laughed at this. It turned out they had already developed anti-magic measures. Then the king walked up to the male protagonist's master. Taro, you are a witch without magic, just a princess. The people below saw the witch's upper body and began taking pictures with their phones. The male protagonist, standing by, couldn't help but endure this sight. Special forces soldiers rushed towards the king, but he was still Taro. After only a few steps, his disciples were detained again. But this also angered the king, who immediately ordered the male protagonist to be punished for his crimes.
悪いのは私です。その子は関係ありません。陛下のおっしゃる通り、魔女は滅ぶべき種です。でもその子は違います。あなた方と同じ人間。私が誘拐して奴隷として育てました。
When the master abandoned her soldiers for her own safety, the male protagonist could only write magic curses on the ground that could not be released. But at this moment, the king suddenly pulled out a pistol. He aimed directly at the master's magic spell.
Ice.